We're just going to roll into our next competitor, Shuttle Sprouts.
Okay, so are there any parents in the room? If you're a parent, say "hua." All right, so I am talking to you and people like you, and if you didn't say "hua," I'm talking to people you may know. So, my name is Phelisha Karamuzi. Sorry. Okay. My name is Phelisha Karamuzi. I'm the owner of Shuttle Sprouts childcare transportation service, and I am a 14-year Army veteran, and I am the first and full-time driver for my service. Shuttle Sprouts is a company that's always going and growing, much like our children, and we look to provide that service. We call ourselves goers, and the children are the growers. So, yes, and this is Jarvis Coleman, who is a Army Reserve cadet. He will be a lieutenant very soon, but he is my part-time driver, so he allows me to take breaks and those kind of things. We are currently operating in the Tallahassee area. We look to grow, much like our Sprouts, to areas around Tallahassee, surrounding counties, and throughout the state of Florida in the future. So, trivia time. Can someone tell me what the average wait time is in the parent pickup queue? Just a guess. 45 minutes, that's exactly right. And I don't know how you knew that, but you win a prize. So I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce my lovely assistant. This is LaMiracle Cooper. She is one of my Sprouts. So yes, the average wait time is 45 minutes. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't have that kind of time. Well, I didn't. When I was working full time, I didn't have 45 minutes to sit in the parent pickup queue and wait for my child. And while some students have the luxury of riding the public school bus, we have parents who are stay-at-home parents, moms or dads, that can spend that time in the parent pickup queue, but everybody doesn't. So that's where Shuttle Sprouts was born from. So that's what we do. We're a family-friendly company that provides childcare transportation services to busy parents, giving them a sense of freedom and community. I think it's a stress reliever. I don't know about you guys, but when I worked 8 to 5 and the school closes at 3, that was a problem for me. You know, lunchtime is at 12. I couldn't take a lunch at 3 o'clock to wait 45 minutes to get my child. So that was an ongoing issue for me. So, can anybody relate to any of these pictures? Yeah, I see some head nods. Thank you for that. Because I can relate also. It was such a hassle. I would pull up and I would see that line and I would automatically get road rage. I'm not even going anywhere. I'm just sitting there and I'm angry. So I'm fully aware of the issue. So it was a problem for me. So I came up with the solution, you know. So that's why I did it, to help parents like me. I was deployed to Afghanistan, and I had a 2-year-old who was in daycare, and his daycare had transportation, but it was very unreliable. Drivers didn't come to work like they should. The vans would have mechanical issues. So with that, I would have to, at the last minute, try to figure out how to get my child to daycare. And the family care plan worked for supervision, but not always for transportation. So that's where Shuttle Sprouts was born. So I became the solution that I needed. So the services that we provide are daycare shuttles. There's a lot of transportation options for children who are at least in the kindergarten to high school age range, but not for children under the age of 5. And part of that is because of the cost of insurance, which is why I'm here in front of you today, and the risk of carrying children, and also the DCF ratios. They have to be adhered to even in transportation outside of daycare centers. We also provide before and after school transportation. You know, your kids they have the after-school activities, going to soccer practice or basketball or whatever sport or some type of art course or something outside of school, we can make that connection so that you see your kids on the back end when they're done with all of their social calendars. We also provide field trip charters for centers and schools who may have ideas, they want to take their kids out, but they can't afford the transportation themselves to have in-house transportation just for the sake of field trips. So we provide that for them. And that's for daycares as young as 2 years old. We also provide appointment pickups and drop-offs. I have parents who work at doctor's offices, so they don't want to leave the doctor's office, go get the kid, bring them to the doctor, take them back to school, or take them home. That costs them PTO and things like that. So we provide that connection as well. We acquire our customers through expos like these and trade events. We recently attended the What Women Want event in Tallahassee, where it's just thousands of women who come, and let's face it, women are usually the ones facilitating the logistics of getting the kids where they need to go. So we were in the right place at the right time. So we get customers from events like that. The Early Learning Coalition, who subsidizes childcare for underserved communities, children who don't have the luxury of going to traditional preschools and things like that. I can't go to ELC and request funding for transportation, but I can contract with centers to provide transportation, and they can include that when they go to ELC. So that's our little loophole to access ELC funding. But they also send out email blasts, and they can send out my flyer to centers that participate in the ELC program. And that's the same for Step Up for Students. They have a scholarship specifically for transportation for kids who participate in the school choice program, and they get to choose schools outside of their assigned school zone to give their kids a better opportunity and better schools. We give out flyers. I do presentations at schools and daycare centers. I'm a vendor with the Leon County, with the county government, basically, so that I can provide the service to the schools and the daycare centers in the county. I have PTOs for different schools that will send out my flyer. Radio promotions, and the tried and true social media, word of mouth. And I also have magnets on the sides of our vehicles. So just driving through traffic, I catch people like taking pictures of my car, and I forget sometimes that the magnets are there because I'm like, okay, you're being creepy. Another trivia. Approximately how many US parents are in the pickup line on any given day? Say it louder. 30, 170, it is 80 million. Who said 60? Okay, you get a nice little gift bag. 80 million parents. That's who I like to be in front of at any moment. I know they can feel my pain. So this is our competitive analysis. We have competitors in the city of Tallahassee. There's only 2 services like mine, Kids Cab and Bright Ideas. Kids Cab and Bright Ideas are both targeting older kids, partly because, like I said, the insurance and the risk of carrying kids and the DCF ratios, people don't want to. You have to hire more staff to take on that. I actually do subcontracting with Kids Cab, so she runs out of drivers very frequently, so she'll call me and say, hey, can you pick up these kids? So that's actually one of our revenue streams, subcontracting with other competitors. There's also, of course, you can take your own kids to school, or they can ride the public school bus or the public city bus, or they can walk. There are a lot of kids who live within walking distance, but many parents, actually the majority of the kids that I take live very close to their schools. This is just, it's 2022 and people don't want their kids walking to school as often as they did so many years ago. So that's where I get a lot of my clients. So we have flexible pickup times. There's a lot of services who will pick up your kids, but they don't want to come directly to your house. There's a meeting hub. I know a lot of the school buses, you meet at the bus pickup spot, but sometimes you don't want to wait there for the bus to come, or you don't want to send your kids. So I come directly to your house and I drop them off at their school. We provide booster seats and car seats if they are not provided by the parents. We try to keep the faces the same drivers and the same kids to make sure that there's a safety and security aspect. If you see the same driver and the same student every day, that's an added layer of protection for your kids. They're not getting into a random car. We also do meet and greets before we even start the service so that they're somewhat familiar with who's going to be picking them up. We specialize in kids under the age of 5 because there are so many transportation options for kids that are older. We try to target the younger kids. We don't count out the older kids, but that is our target. And we're much more affordable. I've looked at the pricing of our competitors, and I've considered, like, what am I missing that they're charging this amount? And I've been doing okay, and I'm going to stick with my pricing, at least for the time being, waiting to see what fuel prices are going to look like. As I stated, our revenue model includes subcontracting, also contracts with centers. If one school or one daycare center has so many kids, we can develop a contract, and then that way you have my vehicle and my driver, and we will pick up as many kids as you'd like for this set amount versus charging the parents. But parent pay is also one of the revenues, one of the streams of revenue, and also the charters, schools for field trips. And right now, the business is slow because of the summer, but so many summer camps and summer schools like to use the summertime for field trips and things like that. So we do have a couple that are using our service for chartering. Our pricing strategy, we start at $15 and as high as $250. So we like to think of ourselves as more of a school bus rather than an Uber service. That way, like I said, you keep the same driver, the same face, the same kids. But there are sometimes parents are just like, hey, I have to work this day and I just need you on this day. It's possible. We can accommodate you. We move kids wherever they need to go. We just can't keep them. Okay, we are not a daycare service. I love kids, but for short amounts of time. So our financial forecast, so I created this in Canva and it did not translate very well to PowerPoint. So I don't know if you can see this, but our financial forecast, right now we have about 25 to 30 customers, and we're projecting 50 by the end of the year, since we're only in June and the school year starts in August, which I expect a surge in clients. There's only 2 employees right now, and we're looking to grow that in the coming years. If you guys have any questions about this slide, I'm happy to answer. I know it's small. So these are our opportunities for growth in the future. We'd like to develop an app, or I recently learned that in Tampa there's a Pick My Kid app that helps the pickup queue. So I'd love to partner with that app to be able to tailor it to the needs of Shuttle Sprouts. And there's also, I'd like to go green. I chose the color green because transportation is a huge industry and it contributes greatly to the environment and the decline of the health of our environment. So I'd like to purchase an all-electric fleet, or at least hybrid vehicles. And there's no timeline on these, but I've also considered approaching ELC to subsidize transportation so I don't have to go through daycare centers and schools. And also have I'd like to write a grant for DV victims. I've had customers who tell me they have to put their kids in a cab. And DV, domestic violence victims, I'm sorry. I've had customers from a specific shelter that say, hey, can you take my kids to school? Because when you leave your situation, or not you, but when victims leave, or survivors, when they leave their situations, they end up in areas that are not their assigned school zones. All shelters are not in the most ideal places that they are able to get that transportation that they normally would have. And sometimes their abusers are their financial source. So they shouldn't, that's one less thing to worry about if they could A lot of people don't leave their situation simply because there's so much to worry about if they leave, and I'd like for getting their kids to school not be one of the things they have to be worried about. I'd like to come up with a community gardening initiative for food deserts. Where's I don't see him, but the supporter troop guy, I like that, fill the fridge, I love that. I like to have my own scholarship program for transportation and franchise opportunities in other cities to give other parents like me a chance to have this same model, same business, and just come in and just do it somewhere. And possibly employer incentives. So a lot of employers provide childcare for their employees. Maybe I could do the transportation. So, another trivia. Who can tell me 2 opportunities for Shuttle Sprouts to grow? I just gave you a whole list. Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. So thank you all very much for listening to me. If you're a parent, remember me. I'm going to be in your city one day. If not, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can you go back to your financial projections slide?
Yes.
That one right there. I just wanted to comment on the projected growth. It's hard for me to see that this is scaling in that growth. I see more of the same as we go out in years by just increasing the number of drivers, sort of thing. Is there some increase in the curve at some point? Does profitability grow dramatically besides just what I would call linear scaling?
I would say that yes. Right now, marketing is non-existent. Really, my clients come from word of mouth and social media and people just saying, hey, I know someone. People asking I'm in a bunch of mom groups for Tallahassee, and people asking, hey, I really need transportation for my kids to get to school. Do you know someone? And someone tags me. That's the most of our marketing right now. So I really believe that if we put forth more money towards marketing, that we would be able to capture a greater amount of clients. And at the What Women Want event is where I had a lot of people going, wow, I need this. You're charging how much? Yeah, I use this other service. So I got a lot of feedback from that event that gave me the indication that there would be a substantial amount of growth if we put forth more marketing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to own the vehicles? Are you going on a model like Uber where the driver, when added to your model, brings their vehicle?
I would own them.
You would own the vehicles?
Starting out, at least. I'd like to lease them in the future, but right now it's cheaper for me to own them.
And how many vehicles do you have right now?
2.
2. And insurance costs, what do they look like?
$800 per month.
Per vehicle?
For both.
Okay.
Do you have a plan to vet your drivers? Because it sounds like
Yes.
picking up these kids, they have to have some type of background checks. And
Yes.
how's that done?
Based on DCF standards, all of our drivers are vetted through the clearinghouse, the same as any childcare worker would be vetted. And I have a good relationship with the safety coordinator for the state of Florida, Mayetta Jalabert, and she's the one who walked me through all of the DCF requirements. There's less requirements for older kids. If you're picking up at a school, there's less requirements, but if you're picking up at a child care center, there's a list of things. There's a safety alarm for your vehicle now. That was newly passed through legislation. So we have to acquire a vehicle alarm to make sure that you're not leaving kids in the vehicles. So there's a lot that goes into the DCF part of it, but I do abide by all of their standards. We have CPR training, first aid kits, fire extinguishers, the whole 9 yards.
Good.
Thank you.